Good morning and welcome to another edition of DDM Morning Show, your trusted source for timely and in-depth discussions on trending stories shaping Nigeria and the world. I'm Toshku Raphael, joined by my co-host Ibrahim Umar Wasi. Ibrahim, good morning to Friday. Let's move on. Today's show, airing on Friday, August 15, 2025, will prove interesting as we take a deep dive into three major topics resounding through social media. Now, our first topic highlights a recent commendation by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization, who credits President Bola Tinubu with stabilizing Nigeria's economy amid complex challenges. We will explore the factors behind this assessment and what it means for Nigeria's economic prospects moving forward. Next, we turn to a tragic story of Ruth Otabor, a recent marketing graduate from Aoshi Polytechnic, whose bright future was severely impacted by a reckless driving accident. We will chronicle the incident, its aftermath, and broader implications for road safety in Nigeria. And finally, we shall broaden our lens internationally with the startling news that former U.S. President, the current U.S. President Donald Trump has offered Russian President Vladimir Putin access to Alaska's rare earth minerals in exchange for ending the war in Ukraine. We will analyze this development and its potential geopolitical consequences. Now, let's take it away. Stay tuned. In a significant international acknowledgement, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, has credited Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his leadership in stabilizing and steering Nigeria's economy towards recovery. Dr. Iweala said this on Thursday when she reportedly visited the president at the Aso Villa in Abuja. The private meeting focused on important trade issues affecting Nigeria, Africa, and the world. This meeting took place just 2 weeks before Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's first term ends on August 31, 2025, and her second term begins on September 1, 2025. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is a famous development economist and global finance expert. She made history in 2021 by becoming the first African and the first woman to lead the WTO, which has 164 member countries. President Tinubu has expressed his confidence that her continued leadership will help the WTO play an important role in promoting fair and inclusive economic growth and good governance worldwide in the coming 4 years. All right, I know many Nigerians were not expecting this, coming from somebody who Nigerians revere as an icon. She is an icon. She's respected across Nigeria, not just from the southeast, but everywhere in Nigeria. She's seen as an economic giant and intellectual asset when it comes to trade, when it comes to negotiations involving the economy and the rest of them. But look at what the statement that she made yesterday is causing, havoc across the country, causing diverse opinions.
That the president and his team, and we just exchanged with him, have worked hard to stabilize the economy. And you cannot really improve an economy unless it's stable. So he has to be given the credit for the stability of the economy.
Now, there is this thing that will continue to be subject to debate. Tinubu removed fuel subsidy. Of course, one of the aims of the fuel subsidy removal is to stabilize the economy, even though initially it was meant, or it was projected to be hard. It was projected to be a source of suffering for most Nigerians. But the question here is, what are the indices of economic stabilization in Nigeria? When you say that an economy or a country's economy is stable, what are the verifiable, concrete, and measurable evidence of economic stabilization? Is it in prices of goods or what? So these are the things that the layman on the street would like to understand from what Mrs. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala statement yesterday. It's a due process. What is your take on her statement? And what does it mean for the country?
Yes, good morning, viewers out there. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, live from Abuja studio. It's very shameful having this kind of comments coming from Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, a renowned economist, one would say, having this type of rating on a government that successfully crippled the Nigerian household economy down to square zero, down to deficits. And not just the Nigerian households, Nigeria as a country is running on deficit, and that's the reason why the government of Vladimir Tinubu has often run to IMF, World Bank, China, and now Japan to seek for loan across the globe. It's shameful that a government that have removed fuel subsidy for a purpose to have savings, so to say. But what we have now is deficit upon deficit. And the purported removal of fuel subsidy is still being paid in a higher amount, but undisclosed to the general public. So the government lacks transparency. As far as I'm concerned, there is no transparency in this government. The people are not in contact or in resonance, in consonance with the activities of the government. Government should not be exclusively for those who are in charge of power. The followers, the generality of the Nigerian masses ought to be in the know of how much of crude, how much of fuel, for instance, that is being consumed on a daily basis, and how much exact subsidy is being paid on this, fuel. But we are not in the know as I speak. The government lacks transparency, and the Minister of Petroleum is still Bola Tinubu himself. So far, he's been in office for over 2 years. The naira have lost value, both locally and internationally. Exchange rates have risen to 1,650, 1,600, 1,500. Within that range, it has been lingering for some months now. And one will imagine on what basis is Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala now rating Bola Tinubu to have stabilized the naira. This is the naira exchange rate to a dollar that Bola Tinubu met at about 450, 400, 350 as at the time he took over power. But today, it has risen to 1,600, 1,500 thereabouts. So on what basis is she rating the government to have stabilized? What have they successfully stabilized? Is it in health? What have they invested in health? What are they invested in terms of power, right? What are they invested to bring about security? There is no security in the land, there is no power, there is nothing to write home about in the country that will attract foreign investors to the land. Even local investors are being crippled. Businesses are being destroyed. You saw the other day Mr. Peter complain about his younger brother business enterprise being crushed without following due process. So see, these are some of the things we are looking at. In what capacity, in what way, what are the parameters that was engaged by Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, which one expect to be in the know to have given that judgment? What are the things that she used in determining the rating of the current administration as stabilizing the economy? And this gets me so confused. As a matter of fact, yesterday when I saw the breaking news of her comments, straight off, I did not waste any time to react to it. And I label it as tragedy of truth and conscience. You know, it's a tragedy of truth and conscience. It shows how detached She has detached herself from the reality of what is on ground in the country. You cannot be in the US, in the World Trade Organization, and claim to understand what is happening in Nigeria. The average Nigerian today cannot afford the basic square meal. If we are reduced to that level, all we Nigerians, whether you are working with the federal government, state government, local government, the daily headache in the country is having to survive the daily square meal. That's the obvious reality. Sample the opinion of Nigeria across the street, they'll tell you how many times can Nigeria even afford food per day. That is aside. We have insecurity on the other angle. Nigerians can no more go to farm and come back safely. Food prices have skyrocketed. And the same government is being rated as stabilizing the economy. I find it very disgusting. It's an aberration and abuse of the generality of Nigerian intelligence telling us that we don't know what we're doing. That's what she said. And it goes on to indict her for siding with the imperialists, with European interests against the Nigerian interests. If she's actually for Nigerian interests, she wouldn't have made that comment. She should have assessed the reality of what is on ground and say it the way it is. But because of renewal, because of the fact that she is lobbying to be able to remain as WTO DG, made her to make such a careless statement without resonating with the reality and the yearnings of Nigeria. So Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she has successfully tarnished her image, and I cannot be able to let go of what I have in my head right now regarding Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She has disrespected her personality globally because what has happened is a disaster. The country has worse, government has worse, government as worse as what we have currently should not be described as stabilizing. There's nothing that Bola Tinubu has stabilized. Okay, the essence of removing fuel subsidy, according to Bola Tinubu, was to have enough saving. Ask me today, where is the saving? They should show us where they have saved the excess that have accrued as a result of removal of subsidy. They should show Nigerians, yes, majority of the major contestants as at 2023 agreed to removal of fuel subsidy. But then they did not attest to removing figures that are unknown. Bola Tinubu should tell us in specific time the actual subsidy that he has removed, the actual consumption of fuel daily in Nigeria. You should be able to tell Nigerians so that we know what we are paying for. But as it is now, Nigeria do not even know what we are paying for. So the entire subsidy thing is a scam. It is a scam upon scam, and Nigerians are being shortchanged. What's the essence of having a crude oil that you cannot process in your own country? I find it very, very absurd and unbelievable that we have a refinery in Delta, we have a refinery at Port Harcourt, we have a refinery at Kaduna, yet we cannot be able to refine our fuel. We have to export it to another country, then get it processed, then imported back to Nigeria. As a matter of fact, there is a rumor that the former President Muhammadu Buhari has sold out crude oil of the entire country until 2031. There will be no crude oil for the federal government to sell. And as part of the reason why Bola Tinubu are going about borrowing funds here. So if the country cannot work, there's time to sit back and have a roundtable on how things should go. This country cannot continue in this direction. And I condemn her comment in totality. She is only serving the foreign interest. As part of what I posted, my Twitter account has been restricted in terms of notification reach because I actually went against that she made that Bola Tinubu is stabilizing the economy. So the government is manipulative, trying to censor opinion of Nigerians. When you are being critical against the government, they find a way to censor opinion. So that's all I have to say for now.
All right. Let me give you more insight into what she said. She did not say that Nigeria has become wealthy, or Nigerians have started to feel, wealth, or to feel the good aspect of, good governance in his real sense of the word. But he just said that stabilization is the first step. Without stabilization, you cannot talk about economic growth. So stabilizing the economy does not mean that Nigerians or more Nigerians are now economically viable or economically stable. No. But stabilization helps you to predict or to have just it is a foundation to build your economy. So it is not actually the thing we are looking for. That is the El Dorado we are looking for, but it is a foundation that now gives the country and the government the opportunity to grow the economy in terms of job creation, in terms of foreign investment. So, but what do you think are the indices of stabilization? Because you said that what she said is not making sense. But to you, what do you think are the tangible, seen, things that can be verified, that these are the indices or these are the evidence that an economy is stabilized?
Yes, Mr. Raphael.
And also, you know that Tinubu is also credited with unification of the exchange rates. Before he came in, there was this fluctuation in the exchange rate, but when he came in, he unified, he floated the currency. And now, don't you think that is also contributing to the fact that the government or his administration has stabilized the economy in terms of the exchange rate?
Mr. Raphael, when you say unification, what do you mean? When you say floating, what are you floating? What are you producing? Are you getting it? You are not producing anything and you are floating. It's just like you built a house, you have no goods that you are selling, and you are making naira, you are making your naira cheaper for exchange, whereas you are not producing anything to sell and engage your local currency. The country is not producing. The local industries that we have, they've all exited the country. You are aware when some of these pharmaceutical industry were exiting the country. Today, Nigeria is grappling with high cost of drugs. So what is Bola Ahmed Tinubu producing? How much was the ordinary malaria drugs before now? And how much is it now? So those are the practical terms that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in those theoretical framework that do not put food on the Nigerian table. These are not practically, things that the average man can hold on to. I deal with the layman, what is obtainable in the grassroots, that's what I deal with. It's about practicality. In practical terms, how much could 50,000 or let's say, okay, 1,000 naira, how much could 1,000 naira buy before Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as president? At least before Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as president, 1,000 naira could buy you a decent meal, but not anymore today. So those are the things we are looking at. We are not interested in those theoretical things that she's talking about. They are only confusing Africa. The moment your local currency is not producing and is not being demanded by international markets to buy goods for your country, your naira, your local currency will go down the drain. It's simple as that. And how can this local industry be able to produce? They'll be able to produce when there is security. There's no security in Nigeria. We've discussed this episode time without number, how communities are being ransacked, villages are being emptied as a result of terrorism attacks without any arrest or without any government reaction to it. So how can you win the investors' confidence to come to your country and invest when you cannot guarantee security? Security is number one. The entire northern region now is desolate because industries are out, right? Expatriates are being kidnapped. You don't expect them to come to your country, relax, bring in their staff to produce, because the safety of this staff is not guaranteed. And when they are kidnapped, the demand for huge ransom. which will cripple those organizations. That's why many industries have left the country because of bad government policies. A minister of power, for instance, that was expected to provide power for the generation of Nigeria, for the industrial sector, is busy siphoning the money, building a personal estate for himself. These are the things that we should be talking about, not just coming on air and be praising Tinubu for doing nothing. Nigeria is on autopilot.
All right.
Thank you. Look at the entire southeastern state, for instance, that, I mean, traditionally into businesses, production, anything that you see in Nigeria, it can be produced in Aba, for instance. In all the southeastern region, they are producing economy. They are production-based economy. Now, without power, how can they survive? They spend a lot of money on diesel to be able to provide themselves power. Mr. Bill made an analysis that, for instance, you went into business, you are not a security agent. You are not a power producing company. But before going into a business, you first have to sort out your security yourself. You sort out your power generation source by yourself. Otherwise, you run out of production. You will not be able to produce. So these are some of the things that should form the front burner of discussion. And in her personality, globally, if she is able to raise the concern that is going on affecting the Nigerian economy, it will have yielded more results. But with her confession, with what she has said, with her comments, Tinubu will feel he's working, whereas he's doing nothing. So those are the things that often gives me a lot of headache discussing the Nigerian situation. But in my country, I have choice. This clothes I'm putting on today was produced in Aba, right? It's a locally made good product. So we should be able to encourage local production of goods and services. It is until then that our Naira will now become very powerful, very efficient, and very competitive in the international market. That is how money gains value. It doesn't just gain value by fixing it on laptop. No, it gains value by its demand. The higher the demand, the higher the price. It's a simple economic term. So that's my solution.
Mr. Ibrahim, do you have something to say?
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tuchukorafel. My contribution here is that, Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is an economist that is tested and trusted. And a lot of Nigerians believe in what she said. They trust her and they celebrate her, especially now she's representing Nigeria in a global stage. That's good for her. But as you rightly questioned, what are the parameters for measuring the stability of a country's economy that is sustainable? And according to a layman, sustainability of a country's economy goes in line with the livelihood of the citizen. Nigeria still has 133 of its population, which is more than 70% of that country's population living in abject poverty. Yes, on paper, Nigeria has the largest GDP in Africa. But in reality, the country is being bedeviled by endless poverty, insecurity, and a lot of economic instability. So the biggest question is, what is the parameters that she used in measurement? Clearly, GDP, I don't think is the case here, because the GDP of Nigeria does not show any promising growth in the recent years. Compared to 2023 to today, I think relatively, and noting the fact that Tinubu has removed fuel subsidy, which is before taking 1.5 trillion in Nigerian budget. And at the same vein, he again let Naira to float. And that again took 1.5 trillion from Nigerian budgets at the same vein. So we expect the government to have a bigger and a larger saving than the previous administration. But the reverse is the case. The debt in the country is currently 149 trillion naira compared to the previous administration, 89 trillion, which shows a nearly double increment in the debt in the country. But I don't understand that. I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to question, and I'm not one of the people that question Okonjo-Iweala's credibility. I believe that she's a woman of tested and trusted, proven track records and integrity. So I think she's in the best position to explain what she meant by what she said. But I can look at it from another lens. Clearly, a lot of average citizens look at themselves or look at the government and those in power as people who are supposed to serve them. But in reality, the government is not there to serve you. They shouldn't even serve you. Not that they are not there to serve you, they should not serve you. The main essence of the government is to represent the ideal of the country. So the government see every one of us, not as citizens, not as civilians, not as kids. They see us as a functional, productive engine, an organism. And the role of that organism is to generate economic power. That's the GDP. Which in return pays the public office holders, pays the civil servants, pays the law enforcement agent, and the law enforcement agent keeps the engine safe. The role of that engine is to keep generating the GDP, and the GDP will keep them safe. So if you're going to look at it from that lens, clearly she's right, because Tinubu is a capitalist who maximizes capitalism on the vulnerable citizen, make sure that the government is being enriched. So based on the concept of capitalism and that we are currently in, Tinubu is doing well. But the reality is the common man will never reap the fruits. Poverty will keep increasing while the government will keep enriching itself. So that's the lens of reality I think she's coming from. Not the lens of let the life of Nigerians be better, because clearly the government is not there to make the life of Nigerians better. It's there to make the country stronger in a global stage. And Mr. Due Process clearly make mention of something that is very, very profound and important. The role placed by the Western world on African economy. So when it comes to the economic rule imposed on the African continent, post-colonial regime, we were supposed to be the place for cheap raw material for the global north. And clearly we still play that role today. And secondly, we are supposed to be the place that consume technology from the global north and industrial outputs. We still play that role today. And most importantly, we are supposed to be the place where obsolete technology are outsourced to us that are not needed in the global north, are outsourced to us under the label of help and all of that name they like to call it. That is that will be outsourced to us, and the real essence of it is to keep us at the bottom of the global value chain. And still, we place the role today as Africans. So the biggest question is the system serving the interests of the common man? So if the system is not designed by design to serve the interests of the common man, then she's right. Clearly, Tinubu is doing well. But if the system is designed to serve the interests of the common man, clearly the government is a failure. So that's my contribution, Mr. Tinubu.
Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. Let's take our second story. Ruth Otabor Bondon, a recent marketing graduate from Auchi Polytechnic, Edo State, was critically injured in a road accident involving a truck reportedly driven recklessly. The severity of her injuries led to the amputation of one of her legs, and she is currently in critical condition in the hospital. This heartbreaking incident occurred just days after Ruth's graduation, as she was on her way to attend her National Youth Service Corps NYSC program. The truck involved in the accident is alleged to belong to the Dangote Group, a fact that has intensified public concern and calls for thorough investigation and justice. Ruth's family, especially her sister Fina, has expressed deep anguish and is actively seeking justice for the devastating harm caused. The accident has sparked outrage online and among her community, with many rallying to provide support. Friends and classmates of Ruth have come forward to raise funds for her medical treatment, highlighting the heavy financial burden the accident has imposed on her and her family. Now we have a sad story here. A girl who graduated 6 days earlier, but met an unfortunate incident which terminated one of her legs, and the other, people are alleging that that one is going to be removed also. It's a very sad condition coming from a culture of recklessness we have been having in this country in terms of driving and recklessness, carelessness, unwillingness to abide by the rules and regulations governing traffic. But the thing here is that many people are blaming the driver, many people are blaming the Dangote Group. So, but the fact still remains that, okay, let's have your thoughts first. It's a due process before I say what I want to say.
Yes, it's a very pathetic story. Having a young lady just graduating from the university and her life has been damaged. No thanks to Dangote driver. This is not the first time. It's not the second time. It has happened countless number of times. And it goes on to raise the question, who are the trainees? I mean, who are the trainers of these drivers, the Dangote drivers? I mean, there's the psyche that they have, that they can always drive at the high speed, expecting that everything should give way for them. It's unimaginable. I'm speaking from an expert point of view. I have a driving school where we train people how to drive. There are driving regulations. There are speed limits. Indeed, if you are driving within a town, you are not expected to drive at a speed more than 50 within the town. You are not expected to drive more than 50 per kilo. And if you are driving a congested environment, you slow it down further. Common sense demands that when you are running into a town, you slow down your speed. For any eventuality, there is always an assumption in the minds of a good driver that he's the only sane person on the road. You know what that means? It means every other person on the road are presumed to be mad and that they can make irrational behavior or take irrational actions at any time, which involves, of course, crossing the road without even looking any direction. So if you have this in the back of your mind, we call it defensive driving skill. Defensive driving. All drivers are put through this process. They are taught defensive driving skill. But I've never seen a manifestation of this defensive driving skill in the driving manners of trailer drivers generally in Nigeria, and particularly the Dangote drivers. You see young boys who are mostly between the ages of 14, 15, 16, the teenagers driving that huge truck. The experience, the older driver sometimes goes to sleep within the car and hand over the steering for the teenager to continue driving. I've had instances where some trailers even carry stone to wage the, how do I call it, the throttle, the accelerator. They use stone to wage it so that they wouldn't bother adjusting their leg. That's the situation we have. Traffic regulations are violated in this country. And the federal road safety that are supposedly in charge to manage road traffic in Nigeria, they've been overwhelmed with the tasks that probably they are understaffed. They've not been able to upgrade their duty in the country. I think Nigeria should be able to employ the use of technology to trace traffic offenders. We are not necessarily blocking the road, trying to check and all that. No, there should be digitalization of the monitoring process of the FRSC, where they'll be able to trace offenders straight to their house, not necessarily running after the vehicle or the trailer. By virtue of them passing, there should be an orthographic image of those vehicles, including their plate number, their number plates, which will, of course, carry their home address. And again, we should be able to work on the identification of number plates, such that it should not be based on vehicle or trailer. It should be based on the person driving it, so that whatever offense you commit, it can be traced directly to you. That's another angle to look at it. Then, Dangote as a company, I think there should be heavy sanction on them. And it should be made to cater for this young lady whose life has been affected. You should take charge of whatever bills or whatever demands that is made on the company to take care of this young lady that is currently going through pain. And the federal government needs to do something better. I grew up seeing trailers across the roads of Nigeria, and that has not changed. At this stage, one expects that there should be rail network across the country. Just a few days back, I traveled within the metropolis of Abuja, and I saw how workers every morning queue on the road waiting for the next available vehicle to join and go to work. And I'm imagining in my head that why can't there be rail network across Abuja, for instance? Why can't there be rail network across the country? It will reduce these accidents that we have. It will reduce cost, it will reduce accidents. As a matter of fact, when there is a connection of rail across the country, there will be needless of these trailers carrying heavy duty, right? It will be channeled through the rail to the respective states, and the overburden of the road network in the country will reduce, the cost of maintenance will reduce, but we don't plan for the next generation. We don't even plan for now, how much more of the next generation. All that goes through the head of Nigerian politicians is how to squander, how to steal. So I'm very disappointed. And I'm calling on all advocates of good governance to raise their voice in support of this young lady whose life has been cut and has been affected. We need to stand for her, because we don't know who is next. We are all victims waiting to happen as far as we continue to tolerate bad government. Thank you.
All right, talking about compensation or reaction from Dangote Group, they actually released a statement, an official statement yesterday, that they say that they are committed. They have this unwavering commitment to the well-being of those affected in the incident, and they would ensure full support for Mrs. Otabor, including comprehensive medical care and appropriate compensation. So they have their full commitment to this cause. But what we are saying now is this is not exclusive to Dangote Group, because if you are somebody who travel a lot, you see that it is a norm in Nigeria. Reckless driving is a norm in Nigeria. You know, if we have 10 drivers, I can tell you for free that 9 of them drive recklessly on the road. So they don't care. They think that they are the only road users, but that is not true. We also have pedestrians, those who travel on foot. So their rights should also be respected on the road. You have your own lane, I have my own lane, but they don't respect that. Ibrahim, what do you think?
It is about the recklessness in driving. People are not following any traffic rules in Nigeria. I don't think it is only peculiar to Dangote's group or any other group. It is everyone in Nigeria. And the government is not moving in the right direction, because if the government is moving in the right direction, the people will be respecting the laws. Everywhere, we are not respecting any law anymore. So I'm calling the Dangote Group to compensate her fully and take care of her life, because now the courts are life short. You know, if you have any special needs in Nigeria, for example, those with amputated leg, they have the treatment in the society is always ugly, so they should take care of that. And I'm calling on the government also to do better in traffic regulation and traffic laws and make sure that the people are abiding by that, not just on papers, but in reality. Because it's quite sad for someone to just wake up and all of a sudden everything has been destroyed for him. He has to start it from afresh, a society that is so toxic to people like him. And when we keep silence on the face of injustice is coming to us, clearly this is very, very sad and disappointing from both the Dangote Group and the government of Nigeria, and they should take full accountability for what happened.
Right, thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. Now let's take our last story. In a significant diplomatic development ahead of their scheduled summit in Anchorage, Alaska today, 2025, August 15, 2025, former US President Donald Trump is reportedly preparing to offer Russian President Vladimir Putin access to Alaska's natural resources, including rare earth minerals, as part of a package of economic incentives to persuade Russia to agree to a ceasefire and end the ongoing war in Ukraine. According to reports from The Telegraph and other credible sources, the proposed deal, including granting Russia access to valuable minerals located in both Alaska and Ukrainian territories currently under Russian occupation. Additionally, the package may involve lifting certain US sanctions on Russia's aviation sector, which has been heavily impacted by international restrictions. The significance of this proposal is heightened by the potential for Russia cooperation in the Bering Strait area, the narrow passage separating Alaska from Russia, known to hold an estimated 13% of the world's oil reserves. This region is viewed as strategically important for Russia's interests in the Arctic, where it generated 80% of its gas output in 2022. Talks may also cover broader economic collaboration projects in the Arctic region. The rare earth minerals element of the deal is crucial, as Ukraine holds significant deposits with 1/3 of Europe's lithium reserves and approximately 3% of global lithium deposits. The US and Ukraine had signed the mineral agreement earlier in 2025, granting the US access to Ukraine's mineral wealth, making this proposed Russian access highly contentious. Now, this proposal has sparked reactions globally, with European leaders and Kyiv expressing deep concerns that the deal could potentially reward Russian aggression by allowing exploitative access to resources gained through military occupation. All right, The United States President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, Russian President, are to meet today in Alaska, the United States, for talks. Topmost in that discussion would be the ending or the brokering of a peace deal or negotiation between Russia and Ukraine to end the 3.5-year long war that started in 2022. It's a due process. What do you think about today's meeting? Do you think it will yield any fruit, or do you think that President Trump will pander to the whim of Vladimir Putin in terms of delivering these rare earth minerals that the United States has?
Yes. Today's meeting between the U.S. President Trump and Vladimir Putin is strictly for the benefit of both countries, not for Ukraine, because I don't see the Ukrainian benefiting anything from the whatever peace deal that is being proposed by Ukraine, because the aggression will not stop. As a matter of fact, psychologically, when a behavior is being rewarded, that behavior tends to resurface in the nearest future. But when a behavior is not rewarded, is being sanctioned, then the likelihood of having a repetition of it will be minimal. Power as it is the play currently between what is happening at the negotiation table and Trump. As we all know him, he doesn't just get involved with something. He's getting involved for the benefit of what his country starts to benefit. And Ukraine is the losing party in this whole negotiation. And it's an unfortunate situation that a country's land is being forcefully taken over by another country. Yet, the U.S. president is there to sanction the negotiation. It's very unfortunate, but I don't see it as a lasting solution. I don't just see it. Something tells me that this might lead to a broader war at the end of the day, because U.S. is only negotiating, doing all this for part of the negotiation that they may have behind closed doors with Putin at the end of the day. Definitely, U.S. will be part of the sharing formula of whatever is being negotiated. That's my belief.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Ibrahim, what we are expecting in this meeting is concession of lands. Of course, Russia is currently occupying the 4 regions, not the whole regions, but part of these 4 regions, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and one other region in the Donbass, eastern Ukraine. So, and they are saying that these regions occupied by them, they will not pull out. Rather, Ukraine will be the party to seize its stronghold, to seize control of these regions. But this is something that many analysts are saying cannot happen. But what do you think will be the result? Do you think this meeting will be fruitful in terms of the concession? Do you think Ukraine will agree to cede any territory that it is currently holding? Mr.
All right.
From
the lens of, am I audible?
Yes.
All right. I say from the lens of whether the discussion, negotiation is going to be fruitful, I think it will, depending on what the leaders in Kyiv and the leaders in Moscow want. Clearly, the war is between the two sides, although there are players behind the scene who are there for their interests, which include the United States and other countries in Europe. But clearly, the war is between these two countries. I highlighted something yesterday, that the root cause of the problem was the power tussle in Kyiv. Before, Kyiv had a president that was pro-Russia, and the European allies overthrew the government indirectly using internal protests, internal fueling unrest within the country, and overthrew the government and replaced him with the current administration in Kyiv. And the administration in Moscow are not happy with what happened. So they decided to invade the country. Why? Because Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. And they look at Ukraine not just as their neighbors, but as their closest brothers and allies. So you have to understand why, in the first place, NATO was created. NATO was created as a deterrent to Russian aggression in Europe. So if Ukraine side with NATO, then it is basically like allowing your own brother or your own neighbor to side with your enemy, right? Because most of European countries are capitalist, while Russia is a communist country. So, and the fight is clearly about their own interests and which economic policy, not economic policy, economic structure is going to help sway in the region. So currently, Russia have the card, the same way Donald Trump told Zelensky, you don't have the cards. So it's about cards. And the negotiation was, the initial story behind negotiation was started after the First World War, when the Europeans realized that there is something that will make enemies come together on the same table and discuss. So that's what brought the idea of negotiation in the first place. So United States of America are trying to broker peace clearly for the interest of Donald Trump. Donald Trump look at himself as a deal broker, so he wants that reputation. He wants the Nobel Prize as the one who broker peace between Pakistan and India, between Iran and Israel, and now Russia and Ukraine, which happened to be the final peace for him to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So he wants that much. He wants to broker that peace that much. So it's about the interests of both sides. The first players are Ukraine and Russia. Then we have the United States of America, which recently, after Donald Trump become the president of the state, decided to forge a different path with the European allies. Then we have the European allies on the other side. So it's four clashing interests that are coming together. It's not going to be easy, but it depends on what they are willing to do for the peace, or if Ukraine have accepted defeat from their own side and they realize that we don't have the military strength, we don't have any strength to fight Russia. And Europe, on the other hand, accepts that no, we can do the bigger concession rather than regime change in Kyiv. Let's just accept that Ukraine is not going to join NATO and is not going to align with the NATO countries. I think that's the biggest concession that Vladimir Putin wants Ukraine to do before he stops the war. So that's what how I'm seeing the negotiation. It depends on the concession. Since Russia now have the card, they are not willing to make any concession. That's why even Donald Trump is trying to make concession from his side, maybe to meet their own demand.
All right, thank you very much. We have come to the end of today's DDM Morning Show. Thank you, Mr. Due Process, for your contribution and time.
Thank you.
All right. Or let me say, we shall come again next week to give you another wonderful edition of the DDM Morning Show. Do not hesitate to hit the like button if you love this video. Make your comments on these topics, share the video, and subscribe to DDM Television for more exciting updates, analysis of what is trending. I'm Toshku Raphael with Ibrahim Omar Wase. Ibrahim.
Thank you for having me once again. Bye-bye, Nigerians.
All right. See you next time.